The amount of Bitcoin on exchanges are hitting levels not seen in 5 years. It's disappearing. What will this mean for the price? This is Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining, everybody. Please go ahead, take a second, hit that like button. It'll really help us get in the algorithm. We have some great guests lined up today, so let's just get right into it. On the top left, his favorite DJs, DJ Academics. You can always catch him in the Academy, the BitLab Academy, that is, not Dexter's. Kelly Kellam, how are you doing today?
As my dad would say, I'm just looking for bringing me a higher low. I'm good. I'm just patient, letting the markets do the talking.
All right. You know what? You're starting with 1 point for hitting the high notes there. Also on today, he doesn't believe in living his life on the edge when it comes to storing your crypto. It's Paul Puey. He might not use Ledger. That's right. He's using the Edge wallets. Paul, how are you doing? Was the Ledger news a breath of fresh air?
Not a breath of fresh air, but I'm doing great. Happy Friday to everybody. I mean, I always like to think that any bad news for crypto, regardless if it's a competitor or whatnot, is just bad news for crypto. I'm all about let's just keep the good news rolling for as best we can. So competitor or not, you just want to hear good stuff coming out of the crypto space.
You know what? That was a very selfless answer. You two get a point. But yeah, you want to check out Edge Wallet. You need something new. You need a new wallet. Check out Paul. All the products they have to offer. Really great stuff. Also on today, look, when it comes to some of these S coins, look, it can get a little dangerous, but he might have the alpha because he keeps all this news close. Of course, talking about Mr. DCA himself, Crypto Keeper. How are you doing today? Are you looking for the next meme? Are you looking for the next Pepe?
I am living the dream, and I've got one popping off in about an hour, actually 6:03 p.m., so let's get it.
All right, make sure you're following all his content. And then last but not least, we have Dusty BC. I tried to figure out what the BC stands for. I think it stands for Before Crypto. Dusty, what were you doing before crypto?
Nothing, I guess. Crypto's kind of my life now. So,
What were we all doing? I think we all just emerged out of the simulation seconds ago. All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about exchanges running out of Bitcoin. We actually have some a nice little chart that kind of highlights. This is the amount of coins that have been on exchanges. I think we go back about 5 years, and it is not looking good. I just threw that at Owen real quick. This is the ETH balance on exchanges, on all centralized exchanges, and you just see it plummeting to levels not seen since 2018, maybe even further back than that. Also, Bitcoin's level has dropped to a level not seen since March of 2018. We crunched some numbers. We looked at the data. It's about 12% of all Bitcoin is on exchanges, while about 15% of all ETH is on exchanges. They've been as high as about 30% in the past. So really, really low amounts right now. And the decrease in ETH seems to be coinciding with the staking as the Chappella upgrade just went live. I think we went from 19 million ETH stake to about 21 million ETH stake. So the ETH staking jumping up here. But let me ask you, Paul, you have a pretty good ear to the market right now. So I want to ask you just more about a macro trend. Do you think that this trend is going to continue as we pull Bitcoin off exchanges because we're becoming more savvy investors, or is this just the fallout from FTX and the other contagions?
It's a little bit of all the above, and it's also just a macroeconomic trend within crypto is that we hit capitulation. Coins simply get off exchanges. There aren't enough people that are looking to sell. Prices are low. It's been low for a while. Yeah, we bumped up a little bit, but not enough for people to feel like they're in a bull run where I'm going to go put my coins on exchange so I could sell them. I think that's one factor. Number two, exactly what you said, FTX scaring people off using custodial services is another factor. And that's kind of a recent fire in our minds, right? That just recently happened. People are feared. And then a third factor, and I think this is a key thing that people don't realize, is that DEXs are getting kick-ass, right? We don't need the centralized exchanges at the same level that we needed them before. If you're just going ETH to, say, tokens, you can do that on a ton of DEXs, starting with obviously the biggest one, Uniswap. And then now with the advent of cross-chain DEXs and bridges, I don't even need a centralized exchange to go from ETH to Bitcoin, ETH to Litecoin, right? That starts to compete now with the centralized exchange, like the multi-asset centralized exchanges that really made a name for themselves, like Binance. So they have things like Thorchain and upcoming Maya protocol. That's going to steal a lot of the liquidity away from these exchanges. Now, that's granted, I didn't look carefully at that chart you showed. Did that chart include DEXs? If it didn't, then it all makes sense.
Yeah, there's a really good point with the decentralized exchanges. As they get better, hey, I need to spin up a wallet. I need to self-custody so I can get the Pepe as we were saying earlier, because some of these centralized exchanges will not be holding it. Well, Kelly, you are one of the best people when it comes to these, I don't want to say obscure charts, but lesser known charts and what it might mean and kind of breaking it down. I never thought about a Nupal 3 years ago. I was thinking of something that maybe sounded similar, but definitely wasn't thinking about that. Will this decrease of Bitcoin on exchanges, is that going to translate into any kind of price action? And what kind of price action?
It's a great question, great sort of thought experiment. And I think one of the most interesting things about the digital asset ecosystem is that we get essentially as close to real-time data as possible, as opposed to every other asset. It basically, as fast as blocks print, we have the on-chain data to see what the behavior is of all different cohorts, all different types of people in the market. And I do think that, the Rational Root, who's a great analyst in the space, also was a speaker at Bitcoin Miami. He showed during his talk, there's been a maturity, a shift in the winds, if you, so to speak, the last halving, where the supply on a daily basis is actually now trickling down because it's arced. And there's basically an inversion of not having a surplus of supply anymore. So not only is there less Bitcoin on exchange available to trade, if we look at this chart right here, this is one of his charts. This is a value map. And what's interesting about this chart is these bands are not only looking at factors like realized price and other sort of key metrics, but also looking at the available supply. What does available supply means? It means supply that's liquid, that's easily expected or available to be traded. And when we look at this, we can see we're still on a lower bound. We look at where we were in the similar zones in previous halvings. We're in an excellent spot. And then we can look at this chart. Not only is there less coins available on exchange to trade, we're also seeing a maturity come into the market with people moving to being long-term holders, meaning they're willing to hold through volatility. And this is increasing that sort of illiquidity or the available supply. Let's be honest, everything about trading and investing is trying to determine what the supply and demand dynamics are. So not many coins on exchange to trade, coins being held by people not willing to trade them. And then we look at this chart, USD to Bitcoin. Is this an asset you'd ever want to hold? This is US dollar value as you compare it to Bitcoin. So let's be honest. All things are pointing to, if you're in Bitcoin or even thinking about it, you are absolutely on the right track. And so that's my two Satoshis about it.
All right. Really great stuff there. Now, Crypto Keeper, I'm looking at some of the stats. I'll just reiterate here. We have 15% of all ETH is on centralized exchanges, but 12% of Bitcoin is on centralized exchanges. Well, in my experience, the MetaMask, the ETH wallet experience is much easier than the Bitcoin. And for every one person I might know with a Bitcoin wallet, I know 10 people with MetaMask. Were you surprised that so many people use centralized exchanges to hold their Ethereum, given MetaMask's popularity?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at it closely, DZ. Was it saying that more actual value was held or more wallets?
Percentage of all circulating coins.
Percentages. So I'd like to see what those numbers look like broken down in terms of actual wallets, because I would make the assumption that there's going to be a lot more wallets as it relates to Ethereum than Bitcoin. But so if that's not true, then yeah, it would really surprise me, because you've got so many people actively trading using the Ethereum network, right? And so with Bitcoin, as it continues to grow, I think you've got to also recognize that the miners are going to be self-custodying. All of the OG people are going to be self-custodying. And when we talk to new people about crypto, that's one of the first things we get into. These centralized exchanges are the places where everything has failed in the past. I think we're going to talk about FTX here in a minute, probably, because that's, has pushed people towards self-custody. And so I think, yeah, Bitcoin being the OG in the crypto space, you've got people that are mining, self-custodying. Ethereum then was the next one to come up, next one to really be the big thing, and it stayed that way. I think it would be interesting to see the comparison in terms of number of wallets, but it does surprise me if there's actually more wallets that hold Bitcoin than Ethereum, just because of how actively people are using ETH to trade.
No, that's a good point. You brought up the OG whales. Yeah, that's probably a significant percentage when you start breaking down the numbers, especially the lost wallets. There's probably a significant amount of the early coins are gone forever. All right, well, Dusty, we had just mentioned SBF. We mentioned FTX, and how it was kind of maybe an event that led to people self-custodying their crypto. Question to you is, years down the line, will we say that this was more of a positive change for crypto or a negative change to crypto? Thinking of all the people who now self-custody.
Yeah, well, I'd say it's a double-edged sword for the most part, because if you think about it, the whole FTX situation, even though it was awful, it did bring to light a lot of these regulatory troubles. Not sure if you guys have kept up to date with what the SEC is doing, but they're not doing a really good job, but they are, from a certain perspective, having to figure out exactly what is safe for American investors. Again, doing a horrible job at it, but where exactly should a U.S. investor be allowed to store their money? How exactly should that be disclosed? All those questions are now being brought up. And due to FTX, I think that was accelerated by a lot. These questions of, where exactly are people allowed to hold their money? How do they pay taxes on it? Because if you think about it, if you keep your money on a ledger, fully self-custody, eventually the tools are going to get better for them to figure out where you're transferring everything to. But right now, if you really play the game smart, and I know a lot of Bitcoiners do, it's just impossible for them to figure out. So from that perspective, again, is it good? Is it bad? Double. And to get back on what you just said, and you talked about it with Crypto Keeper, I personally think that the whole Ethereum on exchanges being higher is quite logical, because before, you, in almost any jurisdiction apart from the US, could actually lend out your coins on exchanges, get some sort of yield. And obviously, it's more appealing to lend out Ethereum than Bitcoin because the yield is higher, as there's actual staking. And now in a lot of other countries, like UK, for example, I remember you can't actually lend out your coins anymore. So it still makes sense for a couple countries to keep Ethereum on there for the higher yield, which is just, in comparison to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin itself, like you just said, there's less wallets for it out there than just an easy MetaMask. So what Keeper said, I agree with the amount of wallets would probably be way higher for Ethereum. But also, if I personally think about it, I kind of understand why the percentage on exchanges will always remain kind of high, because a lot of people just don't know where to store it. And with Ledger right now, making things just way worse than it had to be. So it's just kind of two things at once here. No. Didn't fully answer your question, but I personally think it was a good thing for keeping people aware, keeping people awake. But from another perspective, it was bad because people now distrust crypto for a little bit. But the true OGs, they'll get through it, so it's fine.
No, you actually brought up a good point. I had not thought about, typically you had higher APY yield for ETH versus Bitcoin. I remember I didn't stake Bitcoin on Celsius, but I did stake a couple ETH. And so hey, maybe I'll see it one day. But you're right. I didn't think about staking any Bitcoin on there. All right. Well, let's talk about Neuralink here and the ping pong playing monkey. That's right. They're trying to put chips in your brain. Are you going to sign up? Let us know. Type in yes or no. Would you take one of these Neuralink chips? But they just got approved, folks, by the FDA for human trials. Human trials are about to start. Are you going to sign up? Maybe DZ will. Who knows? This is Elon's quote here. This technology will enable someone with paralysis to use a smartphone with their mind faster than someone using thumbs. However, there is a little controversy, of course, more so than just, is this the mark of the beast? Are they going to put chips in us? But realistically, there's USDA is investigating them currently. They've killed, it looks like at least 1,500 animals. A lot of criticism. Some saying, that's just kind of normal for the course. That's a whole nother conversation about ethics right there. But let's see. Crypto Keeper, you said you have a lot of strong thoughts. So I'm going to keep it real broad for you and let you paint this canvas as you like. Will Neuralink be a good thing for humanity, or will it lead to its demise? Up, you're muted. Is it Neuralink? Is Skynet attacking already?
Neuralink got me. See, it's already happening. They're already in there. Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think that it will be introduced, just like a lot of things are in the world, as this great thing that's going to offer a convenience, right? So we look at it on the front end, and you have this, they're using it and saying that it's going to create this utopia for people who have real deal problems. Now, do I believe that there's going to be technology in the future, and even right now that they're developing, that are going to be able to solve real world problems? Yes, I do. My concern is what people are going to do after that. Once people see, hey, wait a minute, he implanted a chip and he's now either able to operate a smartphone, and he otherwise can't move his hands, or has Alzheimer's and now he can remember things. Like, those are beautiful, great things if they're able to happen. But the world will use this, the companies will use this, the richest man in the world will use this to further his empire. And the crazy thing and the scary thing that I think is, what happens after that? What happens when people start to use this technology to be just a little bit ahead of the curve, right? You have people that have more money than they know what to do with, and they say, well, hey, if they can do it for this, I could probably use it for that. And they're looking to get an edge. Now, you're effectively putting lithium into, or lithium, based products into your brain. Sounds like a terrible idea, introducing something like that into your body. You're also, how are you connected? It would be, I said this before the show, but like, it would be crazy and it would suck for your computer to get hacked or your MetaMask to get hacked or something of that nature. What happens when you're plugged into the freaking internet and someone hacks your brain? Now, then the question becomes, do you even know that it happened? Now, I know it sounds like a wild idea, but you could be making decisions or thinking you're making decisions, and someone else is actually pulling the strings. Now we take it one step further. What happens when politicians start getting these chips implanted in their brain? We already have people that are being pushed around and told what to do in the background, and it's done under shady circumstances. You and I don't know about it. What happens when they are actually being controlled? So I could see this being a terrible thing. We saw something in 2020 that got introduced as, hey, we got to save everybody from this. What's next? Is Alzheimer's going to be contagious, and now everybody's got to get a chip to make sure that their lives are all better? I don't know. I think that it will be introduced as a beautiful thing. I think it will solve some problems, but overall, it's going to be a net negative for society. We're going to see a lot of cool innovation from it, but there will be a lot of side effects. God did not create us with a chip in our brain for a reason. Our brain is the most powerful thing on planet Earth, and we're trying to effectively alter it. We're trying to tweak it. It sounds like a scary, terrible idea. I can see a dystopian future right around the corner. I'm telling you, I'm scared of this for sure.
All right. Well, Kelly, he brought up the example of Alzheimer's. Let's just, theoretically speaking, Kelly, if you are diagnosed with very early Alzheimer's, pretty early, I would say, I think we're pretty close to the same age here. Theoretically, would you then want a plant if it meant, hey, you can now retain your memories and not have any diminishment of mental capacity?
Well, first, let me say I really appreciate all the points that Keeper made. And with that, I think there is an order of magnitude that we're focusing on somewhat more and more exponentially as a human species, of leaning into convenience over understanding the benefit of work and patience for things. And so I think what I want to have something like Neuralink to prevent Alzheimer's, whether it's in myself or my grandmother right now, or, what's some of the other stuff. I mean, as you know, DZ, I've had two basically life-threatening accidents. I've broken about 22 bones. I've had about 85 surgeries. I've been in a coma for a month, hospital 3 months, cast and crutches 8 years. If I could see a situation where I would have made a decision had it been available to sort of circumvent or shortcut some of those issues that I had to deal with and, heal through with something like Neuralink. On the other hand, had I not gone through the hardship of what I went through, then life wouldn't be as precious. So I think there's, on the one hand, if I had a loved one or myself in a situation that this could actually be a benefit, I could see a reason and an argument to be made that, no, this is great. But on the other hand, it's just like it's paralleling, like almost at the exact same time, the same sort of debate we're having around AI. Yes, it will bring exponential good, but it doesn't do that in a vacuum. It brings exponential good with the potential and probably even balance of exponential bad. So what are going to be the stops that are in place? What's going to be the process and how to use it? Is it going to be limited to certain medical conditions? I think all those things are very important to figure out, ahead of time. And we can't do it just because we're trying to circumvent something. I feel like in the case that it really starts coming to market, I do think it does need to be limited, because what makes life precious, as silly as it sounds, it's the finality of the end. If we keep extending things forever and ever, while we may think we want it, it also drains the value out of each day.
I think it comes from the novel Push by Sapphire. All right, Paul, quick question. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect that movie. It's a very sad story. Anyways, moving on here. Paul, Crypto Keeper, he brought up a good point where, we're marketing this as this is going to solve an issue. Hey, you have, epileptic seizures, blind issue, oh, now we're curing something. What do you think about the assertion here that we might go from dire medical procedure to a vanity metric? Do you see that playing out? How does that play out?
Oh, it absolutely will. No question about it. But I don't think that's necessarily a problem. If you think about technology as augmenting us, right? As human beings, we're one of the only creatures that can create technology, if not the only creature that ever has created technology. Steve Jobs' famous quote said, we're not the fastest human on earth, but we can invent a bicycle to become the fastest human. We can invent a car. And this is just another way for us to augment ourselves. Now, granted, I like what was mentioned about the fear of technology such as AI. And fundamentally, I think AI is I hate to say this is probably going to get me flamed online, but I think AI is going to be a net negative to humanity. Why do I feel it's that way? It's because AI tends to take this resource, which is all of the training that is required to put into these models, and it fairly centralizes that. You need gigantic computers to access that information, very expensive computers that are going to be in the control of the largest entities and the wealthiest people. Now, we get to play around with that as individuals and get some advantage and, create our task list for us. We get to, create pretty PFPs. But for the most part, it's going to really centralize power with the largest entities. However, let's take the exact opposite of that technology. To me, Neuralink is, I won't call it opposite, but it actually is hope for humanity to be able to compete with AI. And this is actually why Elon Musk so strongly backed Neuralink. And you've heard him be against AI in many ways. What does Neuralink do? It actually enables enables humans to be able to access the information that AI has readily available at its fingertips. It also enables us to interface and create content, whether it be as a developer writing code, as quickly as AI could normally do it, but using all of the human ingenuity that so far we have not been able to put into AI. So I'm excited by the technology, and I have a history that actually makes me very aligned with it. For most people that know me, they know that I was a developer. I still do development, but I was riddled with RSI. 2 million people a year come down with RSI, which is repetitive strain injury, from primarily using a computer. Now, this technology can re-enable a lot of those people to come back and interface, whether it be to just get basic jobs, contribute to the economy in ways that they couldn't do, and I couldn't do for 4 years of my life. And so, granted, I'm going to say one last thing, which is just because the FDA approved it doesn't mean it's safe. They approve a whole bunch of shit to go into our body that by far is not safe. So I'm not going to be a first hopper on this technology, but overall, I think it is a good one for us to start experimenting with, and it is a hope for humanity to be able to, once again, kind of compete with AI.
Especially that emergency use authorization. Quick follow-up. What do you see as the biggest moat for the few large players? Is this going to be compute power? Is this going to be capital to hire engineers? Is this going to be what their data set is? What do you see as the main moat?
In the AI space, it's kind of all of the above. So definitely the compute power, like these GPUs in gigantic farms, and the economies of scale to be able to operate them are just way outside of the scale that we could be able to launch at an individual level or small.
I can't do it in my basement.
You could try, but you might as well just mine Bitcoin instead, right? That's what most people would do. Probably
do it with the Lenovo
than trying to do it AI, right? And then it's the data. That's probably the biggest other thing. It's the data aggregation. I know, what was it? I heard a great quote where like cryptocurrency is libertarian and AI is communist, right? It's kind of closer to that type of a model because it is trying to aggregate and know everything and kind of control everything. And so I get it. I use AI. It's a convenience for me and my workload, and I'm not gonna just throw it aside for ideological reasons. You got to stay competitive, but at the same time, I think we have to be aware that it is something that largest entities and governments really like, and heck, even Gary Gensler likes it, and doesn't like crypto. So that's got to be a sign.
That's all you had to say. That's all you had to say.
Easy.
The Gary thumbs up. Yeah, go ahead, real quick.
I just wanted to, because I hadn't thought about that. I just want to shout out Paul for bringing that to the point, because one of the biggest resources in the world today isn't oil. I think number one resource in the world is
data
time,
and information.
Data. And I had not even considered the fact that as AI develops, there are centralized server farms that are computing, whether it's ChatGPT or whatever competitor. And that's going to be very interesting how the corporations or entities that's managing that, how do they utilize the exponential and never-ending sort of growth of knowledge from all this stuff that machine learning that's happening.
One of the reasons I'm bullish on Google's Bard, they have the data set of a little thing called YouTube. Might be big. Dusty, final question here. We heard, 3 really good breakdowns here. Where are you landing on this? Is this more of a benefit, more of a detriment? Are there more pros or are there more cons? What does Dusty think?
Man, I think this is such a interesting debate. I've actually had the maybe I shouldn't even say that. Well, let's just put it like this. I've been in talks about Neuralink for so ridiculously long with many different parties, actually for investment purposes, let's call it like that, but not because I think it's a very good thing. It's mostly because it's kind of a potentially very lucrative opportunity. Anyway, I personally think that from an ethics perspective, this is the worst thing that could ever come out. Because if you think about it, I understand this idea of, okay, if somebody's sick, it could help them out, sure. But we should only do it for that purpose would never work. We all know it. People want to be competitive. And if one person can do it to actually fix their injury, another person can do it to make a whole lot of freaking money. And so eventually, as the spiral goes on, it's going to become the standard for maybe at the start, only the wealthiest of the wealthiest, who are then going to get even wealthier before it eventually will dribble down, leaving the, let's just call it the ignorant, potentially, the lower layer. I'm not sure what you want to call that, to not get this extra information, this extra utility, which eventually I personally think are going to either be called hippies or something of the sort, people that don't want to get this new device, this new extra layer. Because you got to understand, let's say 3 people in your classroom have it, they're going to excel over anybody else. So they're always going to be at the top of almost any single thing you can ask. Okay, not of a, let's do this a little social thing. But even then, even if you're asking them a social question, in theory, they've got the answer to what's been discussed for hundreds of years, worth of knowledge inside their little, I guess, how do you say it? Connection that they've got. Now, I have another channel, right? Another social media brand that's focused on AI. It's called The Business Realm. And I talk about AI almost every single day. And even that, I mean, I always think about, there's one movie, which is, I think, the Social Dilemma, the one from Facebook, where is that correct, Easy? Do you remember?
Yes. Social Network.
Well, with Social Network, exactly, where basically there's a dilemma of, is all this social connection that we've got, is it good or bad? Because I'm not sure if Keeper or the other guy posted it just now. Is your choice still your choice? And with this device in your mind, like when it gets hacked, like you just said, it's going to become an more interesting question. And then on top of that, I think of 1984 and the matter of, you don't even know what the future is going to look like. Right now, we're looking at the future thinking, that's pretty scary, but it's pretty scary outlook. But we can't even fathom just how strange it's going to be the moment that this actually rolls out. Mr. Beast, one of the biggest creators out there, said if it actually gets out there, he's going to be one of the first ones to line up. He definitely wants it because, as is logical, well, you have a very big advantage over everybody else. So I think it's going to become the standard if it actually does go through all the approvals. I don't think it's good in the same sense that I don't think a lot of the AI parts were good, of just a normal conversation of people's actual thoughts. It's going to be thrown out the window. It's going to be a computerly generated idea of some sorts against another computerly generated, or at least interfered with, idea or talk. And I just don't think that's the way to live.
No, I think you bring up a good example with education. There's going to be a student, maybe it's a high school, maybe it's Harvard, maybe it's MIT robotics facility. There's going to be, they have it, they don't, to that effect. I think if I'm watching certain people, I might want them to have a chip. If I'm watching a video game streamer, I want my Fortnite streamer to have a chip in his brain because he's going to crank 90s like there's no tomorrow. All right, well,
but even there, well, let me actually give me. So, for example, what I'm not sure what his name was. I'm so sorry, but Paul, I think, what just talked about with programming. Why would you ever want a programmer that doesn't have the chip? Why would you? I mean, he can use AI. Yeah, but the one has it in his brain. Yeah. You'd rather prefer that guy that can quickly look it up than the guy who has to type in his string to actually look at things, right?
You're always like a 10x differential in output.
Almost always, you choose the guy with the chip. So there's almost no choice anymore. Right now, there is maybe at the start, but I don't think there would always be.
Well, I look at it this way. Who do you want chopping down trees on your yard? The guy who's going to karate chop it, or the guy that has an axe in his hand? I'm choosing the guy with the axe in his hand. All right, we got a couple super chats I want to shout out here. Jess Jim, super subs. Appreciate all the info, guys. Mom and wife here today. Lurkin, thanks. Well, this is the moment where I chose to shout you out, so I hope you missed it, Jess Jim. Also, Albatross, can Bard learn from chat and vice versa? It is my understanding they have closed APIs, so no is what I believe. All right, well, let's talk a little Cardano. That's right. No, we're not going to talk AGIX. I know we're just talking AI. No, we're talking about actual ADA here. I pulled up the all-time chart here. It looks like most charts. It looks like most charts, but I do have the telltale bullish DZ sign where they put in a second high in the latter half of 2021 there. So it's a bullish indicator for me, at least. Well, it looks like their DeFi starting to explode, folks. We are hitting all-time highs for total value locked for Cardano. Let's throw out some numbers here. 446 million Cardano, about a $500 million ADA. The value's worth, it's over 150 million. It's roughly around 160 at all-time highs. You're looking at, over $1.2 billion there. The surge of this, hey, Cardano, they're starting to get some dApps, starting to get a DEX, MinSwap, handling a lot of volume. We have meme coins on the scene. Snake, probably the cheapest one. We gave the shout out to the junkies early. They're up to 2,000% or something. So good job. Unless you're like me and you sold little too much too early there. But however, their TVL, you look at their market cap. Let's just go back here. Where is their market cap? I believe they're going to be number 6, number 7. Market cap number 7. However, when it comes to total value locked, they're not even in the top 20, folks. So in simplest terms, Paul, maybe you have a little insight here. How are they such a high crypto when it comes to their market cap, but their TVL is so low? Is it too easy to stake with my wallet?
It comes down to one thing, the power of the EVM. All the tools, all the developers, all of the DeFi protocols. What people know is the EVM ecosystem. It all started with Ethereum. I mean, just look at Polygon, right? So Polygon has a lower market cap, exactly what you're saying, has a lower market cap than Cardano, but has, I think, TVL of about $1 billion. So that's 6 times as much as what Cardano has. Not to, I'm sort of piss off any of the Cardano folks, but that's kind of a choice that Cardano made. And as a developer in the space, and having looked at what we had to do to integrate Cardano, even just at the wallet level, not trying to build a DeFi protocol, it was significantly harder than obviously any other EVM chain, especially with its UTXO or kind of hybrid weird UTXO architecture. So I think one of the biggest things that a lot of these chains need to factor in is not just let's be the whiz bang, fastest, cheapest, cool, smart contract, this and that, with some weird consensus algorithm. It's also the user experience. And when you talk user experience, it's not just user experience to end users, but to the developers. Because as a chain, you don't have an end user other than the developers that build on it, which then build the actual user interfaces that people use. And so the developer user experience just isn't there. And it's not because it's wrong. It's not that they chose something bad. It's that it's different. And just like JavaScript has become a de facto standard in the development world, new languages are different. They could be much better. JavaScript's not a great language at all. But just the fact that it's so ubiquitous and people are used to it helps drive adoption of whatever tool you're building within that ecosystem. And the same thing is true in crypto. They chose an ecosystem that's just different, and EVM is what ended up blowing up. And so hence they're behind in that respect. So it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle from that viewpoint, I think.
Do you see the shift from Solidity happen anytime soon? Solidity is the coding language behind the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine. Is there a shift happening, or is it not changing anytime soon?
It doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon, but the more important thing to consider is less about the language of Solidity, because a lot of people don't realize in the early days of Ethereum, people didn't code in Solidity. They coded in a different language called, I think it was after, not Python. I can't remember now what it was called. It was a different language, but it all compiled to the EVM. That's the most important thing, is that you're actually compatible at that kind of at the virtual machine layer. And so, yeah, I don't think it's changing from EVM or Solidity anytime soon, but at worst, Solidity might change, right? A different language might get built on top, but EVM's kind of etched itself as a standard within our ecosystem.
Yeah, it's chiseled in stone, folks. All right, well, speaking of chiseled features, Kelly, looking at Cardano, we don't have the EVM. I'm looking at that price chart, though, and I'm wondering, hey, are we going to have sustainability? Are we going to have excitement? Are we going to have price action heading into the next bull run? Are the little cadre of developers, can they take Cardano to the next level? Follow-up, does it even need that? Because it didn't have it last time.
Well, I think Paul brought up a lot of good points. I do think that the Cardano, we want to compare it one for one with where Ethereum is today. And if we really look at the stages in development, some could argue there could be an argument to be made that we're probably somewhere on the roadmap, somewhere similar to the 2017 to 2018 timeframe in Ethereum. And also looking at this chart right here on DeFi Llama, this is a TVL back in the beginning of the year, right about $48 million TVL. We've more than 3x'd it so far. And I do think there's obviously a huge way to go with the development in the DeFi ecosystem on Cardano. But they're doing a lot of stuff. They're doing it slowly, but they're doing it. Some would argue too slow, but they're doing it in that pragmatic, scientific sort of route. They're working to get CBTC, basically a Cardano wrapped Bitcoin network. They also have a partnership or some sort of partnership with I think it's Milkometer. I don't know how to say it, which is also helping sort of cross bridge some of the development availability there. So I think there's still going to be a lot in store with Cardano, and we cannot discount how incredibly strong the Cardano community is. For being how patient they've been. Looking here at the chart, this is not what we want to see. We want to see it on auto. We can see we've got a ton of room to go just to go to previous all-time high. The question is, what's going to be the difference between Bitcoin and all these other altcoins, whether it's Cardano, whether it's Solana, whether it's AVAX, is Bitcoin is essentially, of course, there's some upgrades that have come to it recently, but we can't just 100% guarantee any altcoin we have is going to get back to all-time high, because we also have to contend with the fact that Ethereum as well, they're all still working heavily on developments of those chains. And each time they do any sort of implementation or upgrade to their systems or their protocols, there stands to be a point of vulnerability. There stands to be something that is exploited. There stands to be some sort of loss of momentum if it doesn't go as planned. Of course, we all want to be moon boys and moon girls and hope everything's going to go exactly as we want. We're going to hit all-time high and go 3 or 5 or 10x beyond that. But we've got to make sure, this is why diversification in your portfolio is so important, because although that could be the greatest hope, not all the time. Very rarely does exactly what you want to happen in markets happen. So I do think there's going to be, I have very high hopes for Cardano, but I am hedging my risk by having a basically broadly exposed portfolio within that.
Yeah, it is. I do have a big bag of Cardano for, just full disclosure here. Crypto Keeper, I had to move this chart around because I saw that chart where he pulled it close from the top. Maybe we got a little reversal coming. It was a very, very ugly chart. You could kind of see, I don't know if we could pull it up here, but down from $3 all the way essentially down to 25 cents. And now maybe we're on the uptick again. But I was a holder, probably from, I think, January 22. Yeah, I jumped in that early. Rode down a lot, got more during this bear market. But do you have any predictions of what Cardano's going to do price-wise next bull run? Do you see, Kelly brought up the community. I like to call them Ada Gang still. Do you see the Cardano community rising up and more coins are out, more shiny things? Hey, there's something cool over there. Will they show up next bull run?
Yeah, they're definitely going to show up and show out. The Cardano community is, you can tweet something about Cardano and the tweet goes nuts. They have a very loyal community for sure. And as we know with crypto, it's all about hype. The thing that I see though is, Charles Hoskinson, let's use him as an example. He just openly talks about I don't care about price. I'm building an ecosystem. I want it to do what I want it to do. And I'm going to take my time and I'm going to do it right. Well, that's not sexy, right? And so what I think is going to need to happen is you're going to need, there's great things happening on Cardano. They just had Hydra recently, which works on scalability and lower transaction costs. Well, at the end of the day, everybody likes things to be faster and they like things to be cheaper. Now what we need it to be cooler. It needs to be the new place to go. While there are a lot of people that are 100% committed to Cardano, they're on chain, they are all in on Cardano, ETH is still the place to be for where people are launching. Even with high gas fees and quote unquote slow transactions, that's where people are. And the reason is people are comfortable there. They understand, they're comfortable with using Uniswap. They haven't used other DEXs on other chains. It's just the place where everybody's been. So I think what's going to need to happen is some big time players in the space, people that are well known, are going to really need to be hyping and pushing Cardano. And then there's going to have to be some part, either something on Cardano or some sort of a feature that is this new cool thing that sets it apart from everything else, that makes it so much better and so much newer and so much more on the, like I said, sexy side of things, to be able to get there. Because crypto is, at least for now, I can't wait until it's more utilitarian, where it's just about, hey, this works, this is solving a problem, we're going in the right direction. But it's such a following of where's the trends. that Cardano would need to get something to be the place to go to be able to move there. But the next run, yeah, it's going to absolutely rip. We see markets, if you paid any attention to crypto, up and down 85, 100%, like it 100, I guess we don't want that to happen, but moving up and down 85%, yeah, like that happens. We have the opportunity. We are headed there. I hold Cardano, full disclosure. I've got a nice little bag of Cardano. I'm going to continue to stack because I believe I believe in the ecosystem, and I do believe in the people that are already in it, that they're going to continue to be there because they're loyal to it. And then as they continue to grow, maybe we will get some of that sexiness in the ecosystem. But I have a hard time believing that it's actually going to pass ETH. I think ETH is the gold standard as it relates to those layer ones, and so I guess we'll find out. But I think it's going to do some great things. I think people are going to make a lot of money. Not financial advice. Don't run out and sell your house for Cardano. But there's a lot more upside if you look at the market cap on Cardano, seeing as how it is, an awesome project overall. So I'm looking forward to it ripping. I hope it gets it.
Wait a minute. You said Cardano might go up. House prices falling down potentially. I might have to think about that one thing you said. Witdat Beans, Keeper, looking good. He get a new camera, or is that a tan he actually got? Well, he was in Miami last week, so hey, I think it's
yes.
Is that Miami sun? Is that Florida sun? All right.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Dusty, Keeper brought up some good points. Will Cardano be cool? Will it be sexy? Well, the coolest and sexiest thing going on right now is AI. AGIX, probably the best known AI coin. It is on Cardano, one of the top coins on Cardano. Will these type of coins, these DeFi plays and other dApps and other altcoins within that ecosystem, can they take that, or can they take Cardano to the next level? And also, what's Dusty's thoughts about ADA?
Yeah, so I've been making videos on ADA for 5 years or something. I believe even the first videos I've done on my YouTube channel, DustyBC, was before they actually went live. And it's always because I believed in Charles Hoskinson's vision. And he's basically said, obviously he knows a lot about Ethereum, right? But he's always said, Cardano is not trying to be the first to do something new. We're looking at what's basically been built and making that better through their research approach. And I kind of believe that idea of, okay, look at what's already been done. Don't try to be the first in creating something completely new as a concept because it's going to be very flawed. Look at what the competition, so to speak, is doing and then do it better. And that's obviously been their approach, and that's what they've been up with. And now I agree a lot with what everybody here has said. A lot with what Keeper has said as well of they're pretty popular, but they have a good following, cult-like. Then again, it's all about the trend. Right now, they've hopped on the AI trend. Some things are doing very well. If they keep that up, the potential for Cardano, in my opinion, is just insane. But if we, for example, take a good look at the meme coins, even on things like layer 2s for Ethereum, like Arbitrum, they're just not doing that well, even though there's a lot of hype. And that's, I think, mostly because people are just set and centered on Ethereum being the thing. So if it turns out that what we've had last year or something like that for metaverses, with Ethereum being the very big thing, if we could get that now through AI projects and things on Cardano, that could be such a huge wave, bringing it to the next level. Even if it doesn't, I personally believe in due course it is going to get closer to Ethereum. I also don't think the minus 90% or whatever the number might be is a big issue. I mean, I've seen almost any single coin in my portfolio go down 90%, and I never stress, as long as you know what you hold, as long as you understand the vision. They've got a roadmap from here to freaking Tokyo. Most people didn't even look at that. I think even a lot of people that right now are criticizing Cardano don't know what's coming up, and they don't care. They're just like, you know what? It's not Ethereum, so I'm taking my hands off. But if you really take a proper look, almost any single one of the things that they're doing is for the development or furtherment, I'm not trying to say that, of crypto. And they're looking at what the other industry players are doing, and they're just trying to make it more efficient. They're just trying to make it better. And at the end of the day, I personally think they've got the better side of crypto in mind. And I don't think they care about overtaking Ethereum in terms of actual price or market cap or anything like that. They just care about making this ecosystem better and for a better environment for everybody to build on and all these projects to launch on, as, again, following their own idea. They're looking at all the rest, and they just want to make sure it's the best possible. So,
all right,
I think AI on there is going to be. Oh, yep.
Oh, I was going to say I have a $7 to $8 target. Have you put out a target yet? Are you comfortable saying?
No.
Okay. I put myself out there.
It's not
Deezy
smart,
put
man.
himself out there. Why
would you? I mean, at the end of the day, it could literally go 100x from here. I honestly think if you just, not financial advice, if you close your eyes and just buy it right now and look back a couple years, it's probably, in my own opinion, not professional opinion, not financial advice, it's just going to continue to go up as the crypto market does. And probably because of the technology and the thoughts behind it, it'll do a little bit better than most of the cryptos. But I mean, how far is it going to go in terms of the AI overtaking? Right?
Not to push, just to play devil's advocate, you did say a couple years, 99% of coins, if you bought them a couple years ago, you're down today. So, it does help to maybe watch cycles. That's just my opinion. Let us know what you think at home. I think we had a great episode, folks. I mean, it's been a long time since we, pushed about 100 for a combined score. So looks like Paul ended up taking it home for some reason. He sounded like he knew what he was talking about. I don't know. But Paul, feel free. Leave us with some parting thoughts. It was a close one, but you end up taking it at the end. Oh, you're muted. I think it's another singularity attack.
It needs that.
I know. It's that Neuralink isn't quite plugged into the mouth yet. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for having me. It was a great time. Happy Friday. Enjoy the weekend. And of course, got to give the shameless plug for Edge. For those of you that haven't tried it out, give it a try. And actually, we have an amazing killer beta feature right now. DM me if you want to give it a try. It's probably one of the first of its kind in the crypto space. I can't announce it because it's not public yet. So this is your chance to send me a DM and I'll put you on the list to give this beta feature a try.
Guys, if you stuck around this long, you just got some alpha. Do us a favor, hit that like button, and also make sure you check out everybody's content. We have links below. I want you to go there. I want to make sure that you are subbed. Maybe even watch their last video, leave a funny comment, give them a thumbs up. That's all we got for today. Everybody, have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. We won't have a show Monday. We'll be back Tuesday. I think Hannah has a video coming out this weekend. Until next time, everybody, Beezy out. Have a good weekend.